Hi, this is Alexis Sanchez reporting from the Block Museum with Terry Adkins' Recital exhibition. We're about to meet the artist. So Terry, what role did art and music play in your life growing up?
A very large role. I grew up in a musical household. Both of my parents were hobbyist musicians. My mother played clarinet and piano, and my father played organ and sang in the church choir as a tenor. So their listening habits to music were always surrounding the house. And as far as art goes, I was gifted. I could draw like a camera very young. But like all kids who gifted with special talents, if you can do it, you don't think it's anything special. So, but they were there. So I guess I would say that the larger influence was music, and art secondarily, because I didn't consider it to be anything special because I was skilled at it. I kept up both vocations, so the influence of music on the art and the influence of art on the music are ways I try to treat inversely. In other words, I try to make sculpture and other works of art that have a feeling of being as ethereal and transient as music. And the music that I usually work with, I'm a torchbearer of the avant-garde from the 60s, so that has a very visceral kind of physical quality to it. So I try to make sculpture that's immaterial and takes something immaterial like music and make it have a physical suggestion through its visceral nature.
And you say all of the elements that take form in your art are from found objects, and you've referred to this as something called potential disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what that means?
Potential disclosure just refers to I guess you could say it's kind of an animistic approach to materials where you feel that they have more than just physical mass. You know, there's a spirit in them. So when working with found materials, I wait for instance, in my early stages, I would go to junkyards. Now, junkyards have a lot of junk in them. So to find within that setting certain materials that sing out to you or identify themselves as being of having the potential to do something else besides just be in this junk pile, that is potential disclosure. So it goes from this state of identification to a period of gestation where I will collect and gather them and put them in a studio. And there, during this period of gestation, they interact with other things that have identified themselves, and sometimes they come together in one work of art.
So in your work, you reference a lot of historical figures, including John Brown, Jimi Hendrix, Bessie Smith, Beethoven. What is sort of the overarching theme that links all of them together?
The overarching theme that links all of them together are their superhuman feats of singular vision, overcoming adversity, and being able to affect large bodies of people by these actions. Beethoven overcoming deafness, John Brown at Harper's Ferry, Jimi Hendrix changing how we listen to music. So all of them, their legacies to me are still very alive in that they are still here with us, so to speak, you know. Every person that picks up a guitar has to come through Jimi Hendrix, you know. John Brown wanting to rid the nation of slavery is still with us, in that the prison system is another form of the slave system. So Bessie Smith and the artistry of the blues is still with us. So these seminal figures have in common being exceptional human stories.
You are both a professor and an artist. So all these historical figures, is there a sort of lesson that you're trying to give to the audience? Are you also playing the teacher when you're making art?
I try not to, but I guess you could say that I am, and that I'm trying to educate the viewing audience to things that I feel would otherwise be forgotten. I'm also, I guess, trying to educate them to crossing this bridge between, realistic imagery and abstraction, that kind of is like this wall that the general public is considered not to be able to penetrate unless they can read about it, it can be explained to them. So the catch is that you go into a recital that is a portrait of a person, in fact, like Bessie Smith recital, for instance. So you know that there's the subject there, but when you get in and look around, there are no images of Bessie Smith, but there are references to abstract references to qualitative things about the personage of Bessie Smith and her legacy. So in those two ways, I guess you could say I am playing the teacher, but I try to keep them separate and use my creative endeavors as an artist and as the teacher that leads by example for my students.